What is going on, guys? Welcome into Rover Sports, the show here on YouTube.com. Hope everybody's having a good Monday afternoon. I just wanted to talk about the Giants, their state of their team, yesterday's performance against the Arizona Cardinals, where the Giants are just ill-prepared to play football. Pat Shurmur now as a head coach. Let's look at Pat Shurmur's record. It is abysmal as a head coach, and Pat Shurmur needs to be fired this year. If the Giants, he needs to be fired this year, period, end of story. I have no problem rolling with an interim like Mike Shula in the meantime. And Dave Gettleman and John Mara need to fire Pat Shurmur. He's not innovative. He's a bad motivator. He's a career as a head coach. He does nothing but lose games. And I can use stronger language, but I'm not going to. So Pat Shurmur, first of all, it had nothing to do with the decision yesterday of punting the ball and getting it back. Like I completely agree with that philosophy. And Shurmur in the press conference, he was actually correct, because if you punt it back to the Cardinals anyway, you're punting in the rain from your own, 5-yard line. And then if the Cardinals get a first down, the game is over anyway. So it doesn't matter if they have the ball at the 15-yard line or if they have it, at their 40 anyway. So I understand that if you theoretically get a stop, like all you would need is a field goal anyway. But the Cardinals are going to pin you back to your 10-yard line anyway, because you didn't have good field position on 4th and 15. So I like the decision because you get two cracks at it. You had 4th and 15, and then you get the ball back, and you still need to score a touchdown anyway. So I didn't hate the decision by Pat Shurmur. It was honestly aggressive, and if he hits the 4th and 15, then today is a different discussion. This defense is awful. Chase Edmonds in Arizona, they're not a good team. So, the excuses from some people that the Giants don't have a lot of talent. One of my good friends, Dave, who does the podcast here on Rover, says the Giants just don't have enough talent, and you can't always judge the Giants, and the players aren't producing. And this does fall at the square of Dave Gettleman, because he decided to hire Pat Shurmur. He decided he was comfortable with Shurmur. And it's a lot of old school guys that have been around, and Dave Gettleman with Carolina, he had a couple of decent drafts, but I'm not sure that he knows where football is going. I'm not sure if the Giants are making modernized decisions. I mean, getting Ryan Connolly, the Alec Ogletree trade, there's a reason why Les Snead and Sean McVay and Wade Phillips, they're among the smartest guys in football, right up there with the Patriots. There's a reason why they decided to let Alec Ogletree walk, and it wasn't because he was a locker room problem, because Tree is the true professional. He's a great guy on and off the field, and that's why he's an endearing guy, an endearing character for the Giants. It's because he can't cover, he can't shed blocks, and he's just not good. Lorenzo Carter was a modernized, very good decision by the Giants. He has a high upside, and they were banking on Lorenzo Carter to be different than the guy who was at Georgia. It was different than a Roquan Smith. They looked at Carter as having untapped potential, and he's just very, very inconsistent. DeAndre Baker, I like that pick a lot. Julian Love and Ballantyne, these are all guys that are going to have their chances with this Giants organization. Sam Beal has been nothing but hurt, and he has just been a complete bust so far. Same with Love and Ballantyne. None of these guys are making impact plays, and in the NFL, if you're a defensive player, you can actually make impact plays. Like, it's not uncanny. Like, a Darius Leonard was a second-round pick last year from the Colts, and he's making impact plays. There's fourth-rounders in the NFL, I'm sure, on the defensive side of the football that make impact plays, and I really think it's a lot about the coaching, okay? Because when you go back to Gettleman, I mean, the decisions that Gettleman has made, Ogletree hasn't worked out. Dexter Lawrence is not impacting wins and losses. Saquon Barkley, is a pretty good football player. But Will Hernandez is not getting developed at all. He's not showing improvement. Nate Solder looks like a guy who's shot. Mike Remmers, the same thing. And Giants fans criticized, and it looks like rightfully so, for the Giants ignoring the right tackle position until May or June. And Mike Remmers, although he hasn't been hurt, he just hasn't been a dominant player. Kevin Zeitler, I think, is a good football player. John Jalapeno and Spencer Pulley at the center position isn't terrible. You're seeing teams, take our trash like Weston Richburg and Justin Pugh, especially the 49ers. They take Weston Richburg and make Richburg look like a competent player. The Saints take Eli Apple and make Eli Apple look like a competent football player. Patrick Chung sucked on the Eagles. He goes to the Patriots. Wes Welker did nothing in Miami, goes to the Patriots. Coaching matters in this league. Development matters with football players. Scheme and coaching matter. How many times do you see a guy like Darrelle Revis walk from the Patriots or a Richard Seymour? They cut bait. And then these guys suck for the rest of their careers when the Patriots let them go. It's because the Patriots know how to evaluate talent. They know how to build up talent. And the Giants don't know how to do any of that. There's no building up talent. I mean, the example of building up talent is like what Ryan Day's doing at Ohio State or what Joe Brady's doing at LSU with Joe Burrow. A quarterback with very marginal talent. He's making him a lot of money, and he's going to be like a first-round pick because Joe Brady's making them better. Look at what Kellen Moore's doing with Dak Prescott right now. I mean, Dak Prescott, middle-of-the-road quarterback, looks like he's every bit better than Carson Wentz, but I guess that's a video for another day. The point is with the New York Giants is that Pat Shurmur is a recycled, old, not a good football coach. And his motivating's not good. His schemes, he doesn't get guys open. Daniel Jones is regressing every week. He's fumbling the ball. He's hesitating. He's indecisive as a quarterback. The problems at Duke are re-arising now in the NFL. And this offensive line, not good. The development of the offensive line is awful. The offensive line coach, I think it's Hal Hunter. I think he needs to... I don't think that he needs to be on the staff next year. I think he needs to be fired. James Betcher, absolutely 1,000,000% James Betcher is going to get fired 1,000,000%, and he's absolutely awful. And John Mara just allows the clown show to continue. He allows Pat Shurmur, he allows mediocrity to run this franchise, and the fans see it. And he just does it. He refuses to make a move. And I get the whole, you don't want to be impulsive. You don't want to be like the Cleveland Browns and trade for Odell Beckham or fire Eric Mangini. They fired Belichick, but they brought in guys like Butch Davis. They bring in these college coaches all the time. Hugh Jackson. They bring in the hot coordinator, and he blows up in the Browns' face because they're not, they're impulsive. They select a new quarterback every year, like Deshaun Kaiser, like Brandon Weeden, Brady Quinn. They're always selecting quarterbacks every single year, and I get that philosophy of not being impulsive. But a lot of times you stick on the crap too long. I mean, you stick on the guys that aren't good. Look at the Bengals. They've been stuck in the mud. They've been stuck with Marvin Lewis for a really long time, and he didn't bring them any kind of success. The Colts end up moving off of their coach. They bring in a Frank Reich. They're an aggressive team. Les Snead is not sitting back on his heels. Les Snead is out there making moves. Les Snead went out and got Jalen Ramsey, got Ndamukong Suh, went out and traded for Dante Fowler. Aqib Talib, free agency. And that's why the Rams made the Super Bowl last year. Look at the 49ers. They were aggressive. They got Dee Ford in here. They went out and got a Quan Alexander and paid him a bunch of money in free agency. Went and got a Weston Richburg, got Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida. They draft wide. They are a team, the 49ers, that Dee Ford and Quan Alexander, I mean, are you kidding me? And that's why they're awesome. So teams that go out there in free agency and that are often aggressive are successful. Howie Roseman for a year was very successful. Last year, the Eagles made the playoffs again. And they're a pretty good team. They're a lot better than the New York Giants. He runs them a lot better. So Dave Gettleman, the Ogletree trade, I think, is a clear mistake by Dave Gettleman. The drafting of Saquon, and then it looks like Daniel Jones. It's looking like Josh Allen out of Kentucky would have been the right decision. It's looking like this quarterback class was just really weak outside of Kyler Murray. And who would have known about Gardner Minshew and his arm strength working out? So I'm not going to blame Dave Gettleman for not selecting a 6th-round pick, but the field, the need to select a quarterback. I understand that Eli Manning is shot as a quarterback and that he's not good anymore. You could have went and gotten a Ryan Tannehill, and Tannehill's playing just as good as Daniel Jones. You know, everybody compared Jones to Tannehill like that was some huge insult, and Tannehill went out yesterday and looked great. I mean, Daniel Jones does not look like a good quarterback, and I didn't want Dwayne Haskins in the draft process, and I was a wait and see on Daniel Jones. I didn't give him the stamp of approval. And it's not like I'm backtracking my comments. It's that I thought he was an interesting prospect. I thought he had room to grow in the NFL. He wasn't working with NFL receivers at Duke. His footwork, he was indecisive. And there are quarterbacks in the NFL that go into college and they can grow when they're in the NFL. Like Aaron Rodgers can do it. Mahomes, he was able to grow when he got to the NFL. There's quarterbacks that are not good in college that are able to grow. And Daniel Jones right now is just not looking very good as a quarterback. He's fumbling the ball too much. He's taking a lot of hits. And the guy has a weak arm. He really does. And it's very worrisome. I mean, that touchdown throw to Rhett Ellison, that safety should have picked up off that ball. That was a floater. I mean, he floats the ball up. He's a turnover machine. You could say he's Troy Aikman or he's going to have a Peyton Manning type of career. Maybe the guy, the good news is once Daniel Jones continues to figure out the NFL, he'll be smart enough to play in this league. He's athletic enough to play. And maybe he'll be decisive. So, for the Giants now, there's just so many holes on this team. And you know what? This defensive line has Lorenzo Carter. Marcus Golden is playing really well. You have guys like B.J. Hill, who showed flashes last year, have done nothing this year. Dexter Lawrence is a big-time talent. DeAndre Baker, these guys are talented guys that dominated college competition. And I believe it's mostly on the coaching staff. So I would let Gettleman draft another crew, or if the new coach wants a new GM, then that's fine, because I think Gettleman has done a decent job. I think getting rid of Beckham has helped this team out. I think Golden Tate, bringing him in, was not a terrible decision. Sterling, Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram was a Reese pick, and Evan Ingram didn't play well yesterday. He dropped the football in wet conditions, but he's had a really good year. So, I look at this Giants team, and I think that Will Hernandez is a good player. I think Solder and Remmers, I think that these are professionals who have had success in this league. I just think SHURMUR's such a terrible coach that these guys are all regressing under his tutelage. So, I'm more in favor of getting rid of the head coach. And I still think as a team, if we have, a really good free agency next year, if the Giants can have a really good draft next year with really good defensive players, and the offensive line, you maybe bring in another tackle to compete with Remmers for that offensive line. Like maybe let the kid from Kentucky get some run, get some opportunities. Then you look at the Giants wide receiver market. Maybe the Giants can get a really good weapon in the wide receiver market. It's going to be tough. I mean, the Giants this year, they're going to be drafting a good player. Now, you got to scout Derek Brown. Maybe Derek Brown is elite. I know Chase Young is elite, but I don't know if we're going to be able to select him over the Redskins. Isaiah Simmons from Clemson is a do-everything player. I think he's going to be a phenomenal football player. He would be a great cornerstone to get for our defense. I think we got to go defense. I don't want to, draft high like a Jerry Jeudy or a Henry Ruggs or one of these CD Lamb players. They're very good players, but I just think that defensively we could get some really good impact players with our first-round pick, and we're going to need to hit that first-round pick really good because, again, Josh Allen would have been an awesome player. Devin Bush would have been awesome for the Giants to get. But Daniel Jones, I mean, as a quarterback, he's going to have to go through his learning. He's going to have to go through growing pains, and he's going to need his intelligence to carry him through because he definitely has physical limitations. That arm is weak. He hangs the ball in the air. So I know it was raining yesterday. The protection is not good for Daniel Jones. The offensive line is absolutely playing really poor. And that goes to Gettleman, but it also goes to Shurmur. It goes to everything involved with this Giants team in the evaluation process. And I'm just in favor of getting rid of Shurmur. So then who are going to be the 4 coaches that the Giants should pursue? Because I'm tired of the stale coaching staff. And to be honest with you guys, losing to the Cardinals yesterday, I'm happy it happened. I really am, because Shurmur needs to get the hell out. The longer Shurmur stays, the Giants are like the Indiana Pacers of the NFL. The longer Pat Shurmur stays, the Giants become the Indiana Pacers, where they're stuck 8-8. Mediocrity, a Marvin Lewis, an 8-8 Cincinnati team. They're stuck just being, a Denver Broncos, going 7-9. They're stuck being the old Chargers. Or they're stuck being a Tennessee Titans, going 7-9, 8-8, 6-10, not firing their head coach like a Mike Mularkey. That's what Shurmur is. He's Mike Mularkey. So he's a dead man walking. So when are you going to get the dead man out? That's what I look at. And yesterday, getting embarrassed 17-0 when you had 11 days to prepare to the freaking Arizona Cardinals, who have no talent at all. There's a reason their defense is last. There is a reason that they weren't even starting David Johnson. They're starting a 5'9" rookie quarterback, a coach in college that wasn't even good as a college head coach in the Big 12. And they came in, and the Giants had 11 days to prepare, essentially a bye week. And they were losing 17-0. Their defense was nothing but rested. The conditions were awful. And you allowed Chase Edmonds, the 40th best running back in the NFL, or he's not even the 38th best running back, to absolutely gash you. A Cardinals offensive line that is starting Justin Pugh. That is an abysmal offensive line that hasn't run the rock all year. They don't even prioritize running the football. And then Pat Shurmur, I know that they have Chandler Jones. He's the one guy you have to block. He's the one Pro Bowl Hall of Fame potential guy on the freaking Cardinals on the defensive side of the football now. I know Patrick Peterson came back, but he's rusty. He hasn't been back in a long time. And they were doing nothing to help Nate Solder and Remmers with Chandler Jones. Incompetency. Put in a tight end. It's like you're talking to a brick wall. You're banging your head against a brick wall because John Mara won't do anything. You know what? The longer John Mara keeps Pat Shurmur, it's going to turn from anger like this. You know what? What is the second stage of anger? What comes after anger? When you get mad at something, if you get mad at nothing being done, it's even worse than anger. It's another A word. It's called apathy. Apathy. And that's what's going to happen with the New York Giants fans. They're going to stop caring about this. An NFL head coach is like the lottery. Listen, I know that I don't expect John Mara. I don't expect Mara to be able to hit on every single head coach. That never happens, all right? Even the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Patriots, even the Alabama football program that had Bear Bryant and Nick Saban, they go through dark years and dark times. Even Nebraska football. They go through hiring wrong coaches. But it's about then noticing that the coach is not good and then moving on from a coach when a coach is not good. And Pat Shurmur has done nothing but lose in Cleveland. He's done nothing but lose in New York City. He's a career loser. When is John Mara going to notice that he's a career football loser as a head coach? As a coach in general. It's time to go back to the dartboard. It's time to spin that wheel again. Look at the Rams. They spun the wheel. They landed a Sean McVay. Look at the Chicago Bears. Spun the wheel. Got a Matt Nagy. The Colts couldn't get Josh McDaniels. Spun that wheel. Had to spin it quickly. They ended up getting a gem in Frank Reich. 49ers decided to hire a coordinator with no head coaching experience. Spun the wheel, jackpot. Hired a guy that was on TV, jackpot. Raiders hire Mike Mayock, one of the best rookie classes in the damn league, TV guy. Cowboys hire a 30-year-old offensive coordinator, jackpot. Now, sometimes it's not going to work. Zach Taylor, Freddie Kitchens. Sometimes your decision is not going to work. Hiring a young, upstart coach. Taking the risk. But you can't sit back with this loser and be okay with it, because then your fan base is going to stop caring. And guess what? I'm rooting for the Giants somehow. Maybe the Lions can beat them 49-0. So then maybe Pat Shurmur could get fired this year. Because the longer he stays, the longer the Giants don't do crap in this football league. The longer Shurmur stays, the more the Giants will die as a franchise. The more the Giants and their fans will start to not care. What has Shurmur showed you that deserves him time? What? He is 17 and 39 as a head coach. He's had 52 games. He beat the Redskins and the Bucks, and they both are terrible. Then he went out against the Vikings, terrible showing. That Patriots game, no offense at all. And Shurmur will say, we don't have the talent and we gotta be patient in rebuilding. Come on, this is the NFL. Every team is pretty equal in talent. It comes down to coaching. There's a reason why Sean Payton can lose Drew Brees, can take Eli Apple, and there's a reason he hired Dennis Allen, and the Saints are amazing every single year. There's a reason why Andy Reid every year is figuring it out. Every year he's good. Sean Payton and Andy Reid. There's a reason why the same damn coaches are good every single freaking year. Sean McVay, Bill Belichick. It's the same people every single year. It's the Saints. It's the Chiefs. It's the Patriots. Philadelphia has been really good with Doug Peterson lately. The Colts, it's an organization of greatness. These organizations, these GMs like Chris Ballard. Once you get a great GM and a great coach, everything takes care of itself. So let's go with the 4 head coaching candidates. These are my top 4 pros and cons. Let's rock it out. I'll just mention the 4 and then we'll break it down, and I'm sure you guys will have some ideas as well. Number 1 on the list, just in order. Let's mention the 4. Matt Rule, the Baylor Bears football coach. Now, I know he got an extension for 2027, but he's a guy who took a terrible Temple team. He took a terrible Temple football program, and he made them a really good football program. He went down to Waco, Texas, where Ken Starr and Art Briles decided to run rampant with football players and misconduct of sexual misconduct and Title IX. And the Baylor Bears team, nobody would touch going to Baylor. And this is a guy that had no Texas football roots at all. None. He's never set foot in Texas. He doesn't know the high school programs. He doesn't know high school coaches. He doesn't know the landscape down there. But you know what he did? He hired people who knew the landscape. And in 3 years, he's taken Baylor from, Baylor could have been Kansas. They were Kansas a couple of years ago. They were 1-11, even under Matt Rule. So Matt Rule's been through tough times. At Baylor and at Temple, he's been through rough times. 1-11 years, 2-10 years, whatever. And he's come through and shined with shining colors. And at Temple, he went 10-4 in year 3. And at Baylor now, he's poised to go 10-2, 11-1, possibly even 12-0 in a perfect world. He is right up there with PJ Fleck as being the coach of the year in college football. And he went down to a conference in the Big 12 football conference. And the Big 12 football conference, that is the NXT of NFL coaches. The Big 12 right now, the most modernized football conference that you're going to see. He knows what Lincoln Riley is doing in the running game. He goes and he gets to see Cliff Kingsbury. He gets to see Tom Herman in Texas. That's where the best offenses are, is in the wild, wild West. And that's what the Big 12 is. You look at Mike Gundy and how successful he's been on offense. So he knows Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Texas, Oklahoma. He knows about where the NFL is going. He knows about, because NFL always starts cyclical. It always starts down at the college level, and then it builds up. It builds up the college football. Everything rises. You take the best from college, you rise it up. Same with college basketball. You go to high school. You look at high school, you build it up. So Matt Rule knows football. He's also a Giants offensive line coach. He was in 2012. And guess what? He's a native New Yorker who probably grew up loving this team. And as a developer, personalities, rock solid, stable. Guess what? He was a college linebacker for Penn State, but he also coached quarterbacks. So this is a guy with a resume that is absolutely spectacular. Matt Rule. The resume of Matt Rule is absolutely spectacular. He's been through adversity. He checks every single box. I think that this would be an incredible, incredible hire. Would love it so much. Now, if he wants to stay at Baylor, he can. This would be a fun hire. Guess what? At Temple, he was the offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach, the running backs coach, defensive line. He's been everywhere. He's like Scott Frost. Scott Frost played cornerback in the NFL. Scott Frost coached linebackers at Northern Iowa. And now Scott Frost is one of the best coaches in the history of football. He's amazing what he did with UCF. And now, what's his name there? The Oklahoma coach, or Josh Heupel, coach at Missouri, is just taking off for what? He's just taking off what basically Scott Frost did, but Matt Rule's in the same ilk. He's amazing. He doesn't show any panic with adversity. He's a special coach. He's one of the best coaches in football, any level, anywhere. Probably a top 10 coach right now because, I mean, he takes talent and he knows how to develop it and he knows what he's looking for, and it's power run game. It's play action pass. It's ball control offense with explosive plays there. It's a defense that is very, very disciplined. They're always in the right spot. They know how to tackle well. It's just a beautiful thing to see Matt Rule, what he's doing at Baylor. Here are the next three guys. Joe Brady of LSU. Joe Brady's been with the New Orleans Saints. He's been under Sean Payton, the great Sean Payton. All the great NFL coaches come through New York. Tom Coughlin, Sean Payton, Bill Belichick. There's been other guys that have come through New York that I just can't seem to name. But even the Andy Reid, I think that Harbaugh might have been with us for a little bit. But I know Sean Payton was with the Giants for a really, really long time. So that's that. Joe Brady, what he's doing at LSU, he's taken Joe Burrow, made LSU into the best offense. He's done it in 4 months. Unprecedented. He's a great, great offensive coach, really bright offensive mind, and the proof is in the pudding. He's taken an average LSU offense stuck in the Stone Age, and he's lifted that offense up. I mean, he's the biggest reason for LSU's success this year. They had the same personnel last year, and it wasn't this infiltration of modern-day NFL passing. He's as modern as it gets as a coach. He's a young guy. Now, the question is, how can he lead a locker room? You know, how does he speak to players? How does he get along with guys? But by everything you read, he gets along with guys just fine. How about this one? Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore and Chris Richard, the two guys that I've said for a while. There's two guys that I've been saying for a while that I think are awesome, awesome football coaches. And it's Kellen Moore and it's Christopher Richard. Chris Richard will make this defense elite. He'll hold the defense accountable. Now, I'm a little worried because Richard is a rah-rah guy. Okay, he's a rah-rah guy. Now, with Chris Richard, there's a possibility like Mike Vrabel, like Rex Ryan. These are rah-rah guys, really good defensive guys that have awesome defenses. There's a possibility that the temperament of Richard, even though Richard's a rah-rah guy, that in New York, he's a big, big personality. I love Richard. I'll run for a wall for Chris Richard. He would be as fun as any coach. But there's question marks about how long will he be able to be successful. He might be like Dan Quinn and peak early. I think he'll be like Rex Ryan. He'll get things turned around, but I don't know if he'll be here for 7 or 8 years. And then there's Kellen Moore, who is an absolute wizard of an offensive coordinator guy, a guy who's been calling plays since 11th grade, has the demeanor of a coach, really smart, thinks quickly on his feet. Now, how can he motivate and lead an offense? He's still growing into that role, but the upside is the potential of Kellen Moore is right up there with the great ones. And I would take a chance on Kellen Moore every day of the week. So if I was making the decision, I'm honestly going Kellen Moore as my number one choice because I believe this guy is like a Sean McVay. He's young. He has all the similarities of Sean McVay. I mean, he just got done playing in the NFL. He got elevated quickly by the Cowboys. They quickly saw how good this guy was as an offensive coordinator. He utilizes motions. He's a quarterback like Doug Peterson, who was a bad backup quarterback, kind of like Matt Nagy. You look at all the coaches that have played, McVay, John Gruden, Jay Gruden, Kyle Shanahan, they all were undersized wide receivers or quarterbacks. And Kellen Moore is the ultimate guy who's 5'11", but he still had a successful NFL career as a backup. And then quickly he decided that he wanted to be a coach and he wanted to go into coaching, and his game planning is ridiculous. And I just think that the upside is just tremendous. So if I got to interviewing Kellen Moore, even though Matt Rule would be a really, really awesome coach, I just think with Kellen Moore, you could potentially land like the next Belichick. I just think Kellen Moore is that special. Joe Brady, I'm not sure about his personality that much. I think he'd be the next Sean Payton. I think he would be absolutely fantastic. I think Matt Rule would be the next John Harbaugh. I think he would be a really solid coach for the Giants. I'm not sure if our offense would be really good, but our defense and our team would be really balanced, and I would have absolutely no problems going with Matt Rule. I think it would be a creative hire, and I think it would actually be an awesome hire, and every week I would trust Matt Rule with game planning, and I would get really excited. And then Chris Richard, he would be fourth on my list. But guess what? Richard, the Giants, you talk about the word apathy. I'm telling you, this fan base will be juiced. I think from an entertainment standpoint, we watch football a lot to be entertained. Not only will the defense be absolutely hungry, and not only will we have a bunch of dogs on defense, you talk about hungry dogs run faster, Philadelphia's motto. Richard will strike fear in everybody in the NFC East. He will come out guns blazing, and he will call out every coach. I mean, Chris Richard, he nipple twisted the Eagles' defensive coordinator. He went up to him, he grabbed him by the nipple, and he twisted it. And that just shows you the tenacity of Chris Richard. You listen to Richard, he's about one of the most motivational speakers you're ever going to see. So Richard, as a coach, I think he's a better version of Rex Ryan. I think he could be like a Mike Tomlin where people instantly respect Chris Richard. And I think he could be, when we look at Richard, who are his comparisons going to be in the NFL? There's not a lot of guys who have the fire of Chris Richard. So it's tough for me to come up with it. Maybe a Ron Rivera, Dan Quinn, just a solid defensive coordinator. But he's a young defensive coordinator, and the NFL is going back towards defenses, towards defensive dominating. And you're seeing the Matt Nagy's of the world and teams with offenses like McVay get bogged down by really good defensive coaches. And how could I forget to compare him to his mentor up in Seattle, a guy with instant energy, a guy with instant juice, a guy who was great in college, great at the NFL level, in Pete Carroll. And I hope that Richard's first stint is better than his stint in New England. With the Giants, if the Giants choose to go for Richard. So those are the top four. I know y'all want to say Lincoln Riley as a head coach, but Lincoln Riley, the Cowboys are going to hire Lincoln Riley, and if the Cowboys don't hire him, then we'll see if the Giants can go out and get him. Why am I going to have a problem with Lincoln Riley? I have no problems with him. Matt Campbell is in the same exact boat as Matt Rule. I think they're both awesome. Matt Campbell's even younger. He'd be just outside of Matt Rule. I think it would be even a more entertaining hire, even more fun. He's certainly on my list. And there's about 6 or 7, the 6 that I mentioned, Rule, Lincoln, Richard, Kellen Moore, Joe Brady, and Matt Rule. And these guys will take the job. They'll take the New York Giants job. The New York Giants still holds a special place in people's minds and in this NFL. So I want to thank you guys for listening. I hope the Lions end up blasting the New York Giants. I think Daniel Jones, it's like going around a carousel, the NFL. And this is Jones' first time going around the carousel. Shurmur's not the guy to lead Daniel Jones. And that is why you might want a Kellen Moore coming in here, or Joe Brady, who will offensively develop and soup up this offense. You need a guy who's going to take care of young Daniel Jones. So that is why the coaches that I just mentioned, they're really going to take care of Daniel Jones. Richard will take care of the defense. He'll have to hire somebody to take care of Daniel Jones. And Eli Manning is also a great mentor to Daniel Jones. So there's a lot of good that is out there right now, guys. There's a lot of good that is out there. And the Giants losing yesterday, we're a proud franchise, but we know that SHURMUR's a mole and he's holding us back. Dave Gettleman is a replaceable GM. I think that Dave's done some good things for us. I just want to see a new coach get Dave Gettleman's talent, and then I want to see what happens. Like, I'm curious to see how DeAndre Baker's career is going to go. I'm curious to see how Will Hernandez's career is going to go. Lorenzo Carter. I'm curious to see, because I bet that some of these guys leave the New York Giants and they go elsewhere and they ball out like a Shaquille Barrett or something. I bet that these guys leave the Giants and then they get developed and they're amazing players. And then we can look back at Gettleman and think of him in a different light. The good news with Dave Gettleman is time will tell how these guys mentally will figure it out, physically how they will figure it out in the NFL. Even if they don't play for the Giants, we will still have a compass to view Dave Gettleman and the drafts and how successful these players are. Okay? Alrighty, guys. It has been fun. Thank you guys so much. I'll tell you what, Dave Gettleman's players doing pretty good in Carolina. James Bradbury. I'll tell you, man. McCaffrey. Greg Olsen. Vernon Butler. Kawan Short. Come on. Come on. Alrighty, guys. It's been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy this video. It's long, but enjoy it.